Welcome to Gerrymandering Genetics, the show where I refute the YouTube atheist, the Genetically Modified Skeptic. In today's episode, Mr. Modified is going to try and prove that atheism is not arrogant or prideful. Will he succeed, or will he end up shooting himself in the foot by not speaking about it in an objective fashion? If you're familiar with my videos, you probably already know the answer.
When I left my faith and became an atheist, I went from thinking that the universe was designed with me in mind to realizing that I was just an infinitesimal result of natural order in a totally indifferent universe. At the beginning of the universe, no one planned for or even cared about whether or not I would exist. It wasn't until I was conceived that a couple of people started caring about whether I existed or not. If I went outside the Earth's atmosphere and into the vast majority of the universe that was not designed to support human life, then I would die. And only a few of my fellow humans would care. No God, no dead relatives, no cosmic force would care whether or not I existed anymore. Unlike a religious person, I don't think that my life has any kind of ultimate purpose. And that's okay. I just make my own meaning out of my own subjective feelings, my own subjective thoughts and desires. The universe...
So it's ironic that in a video where he's trying to prove atheism is not prideful, he spends a lot of time saying, I this and I that, instead of a more objective, atheists believe this, or atheists believe that, or atheism states this, or atheism states that. He actually ends up showing his pride in his attempt to disprove his pride. But what if he did speak in a more objective manner? Would he have successfully demonstrated that atheism is not prideful or arrogant? Well, no, not really. And he proves it himself with that last statement. He makes his own meaning out of his own subjective thoughts and desires. Meaning has to be ascribed by someone else. You can't ascribe your own meaning. Just like a hammer, if it could ascribe meaning, could not ascribe meaning to itself. He is right that if atheism were true, then there would be no ultimate meaning to anything. But that does not mean he can ascribe himself purpose. He can give purpose to his actions, perhaps, but not himself. Of course, even that he couldn't do, because on atheism there'd be no free will, if it were true.
I don't claim to know ultimate truth. I was a believer for most of my life, and I thought that I knew all the answers to the universe. I don't claim to know that now. All I know is what I can perceive and reason through as a flawed human being, and my arguments are just my best attempt at doing that. I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm totally open to changing my mind if evidence demands it. I'm not claiming some kind of superior knowledge through divine revelation.
So Mr. Modified claims that when he claimed to be a Christian, that he claimed to have all the answers. But at no point does he mention how that is a result of being a Christian. How does being a Christian cause me to know everything? I certainly don't know everything, and I'm actually calling shenanigans on Mr. Modified claiming that he claimed he knew everything. I don't think even he was ever that arrogant. And if he was, it was not because he was a Christian, or because he thought he was a Christian.
That's another thing, divine revelation. I don't claim that the creator of the universe, the wisest and most powerful being to have ever existed, speaks to me specifically. No supernatural entity has ever whispered in my ear and given me divine truth. I don't think that any of my ideas were hand-delivered to me by some kind of supernatural force and are therefore superior to other people's. All my ideas come from a regular human brain and could be proven wrong by one little contradictory fact at any time. Likewise, I don't think I can whisper in the ear of some kind of supernatural being and have them intercede on my behalf. The only way that I can achieve anything is through my own actions that just exist in the natural world alone. I admit that it doesn't matter how hard I believe in something, there's no supernatural force that will ever move mountains or heal the sick or raise the dead just because I ask it to. My influence on the universe stops in the natural world, and I don't think I have the ability to directly or indirectly magically change the world through my thoughts. If I want something done, I have to do it myself, because I realize that I don't have any connection to a supernatural force that will allow me to change things with my mind.
This is such a fat straw man that Mr. Modified is burning here that it borders on idiotic. The Bible is special revelation. You don't have to hear an audible voice to get special revelation. And very few people in the history of the world has ever heard an audible voice. In fact, we can't even be sure that all the prophets heard an audible voice. It's a safe assumption, but not a guarantee. Now, let me ask you something. Do you think it is arrogant or prideful to ask your parents for help? If your answer is no, then you should be able to see why Mr. Modified's argument is so off base. If, on the other hand, you think it is arrogant or prideful to ask your parents for help in anything, then you're gonna have to explain that in the comments. Needless to say, Christianity does not teach the concepts he's throwing out here, or at the very least, not in the same way. And when you misrepresent your opponent so badly, it kinda makes you come off a little arrogant.
I don't have faith in anything. I admit that all of my beliefs have to be justified by evidence, and if they're not, then they're not worth holding. I don't think that my ideas are so superior and obviously true that I don't have to give good reasons for why I accept them. They're not just true, and it's not that if someone disagrees for any reason that they're actually wrong. They could be right. One of the most fundamental parts of my worldview is that people should have good reasons for accepting everything that they do. That means that if someone came along with good evidence that didn't support one of my viewpoints, I would drop that viewpoint. I would change it to make it suit the evidence. I'm really willing to say that I'm wrong on a dime and change my beliefs if the evidence demands that.
Yeah, right. I'll believe that when I see evidence for it. Evidence that contradicts your worldview will not change your worldview if you interpret that evidence to fit your worldview. People do not change their beliefs based on evidence. They change their belief based on reasons. Now you might say those reasons are based on the evidence, but what was your reason to think that the evidence was a good reason? In other words, you had reasons to interpret the evidence to either confirm or deny what you already believed. And Mr. Modified equivocates on the word faith. One would hope what he really means is blind faith, because if he meant actual faith, then that would mean he's skeptical of his own existence. And nobody should take seriously anybody who's skeptical of their own existence.
I'll admit that I don't know something if I really don't know. I won't get defensive about it, and I won't try to use my own ignorance of a topic to try to prove that my worldview is actually true. I have no problem with fessing up to my own ignorance. I realize that the only way I'll ever be able to learn anything is by being willing to admit that I don't know something in the first place. I don't think that atheists or theists really know whether or not God exists. But as an atheist, I'm not actually making a claim there.
I will set aside, for the moment, whether or not you're actually making a claim as an atheist, but I feel I need to remind you that the point of this video was for you to prove why atheism is not prideful or arrogant, not why you aren't prideful or arrogant. It seems like you've forgotten what you set out to prove in this video and instead just decided to focus on yourself. Are you trying to be ironic on purpose?
So let's sum up. Most religious people think that the universe was created with them in mind. They think their life has an ultimate God-given purpose. They think they know the ultimate truth of the universe. They think they've received some kind of divine revelation in their life. They think they have access to a supernatural being that will intercede on their behalf when they ask. They claim they can know something is true without having to present reasons for it. They think they shouldn't be willing to change their mind if they're presented with new information. And they think that their own ignorance on a subject can actually be used as evidence for their position. As an atheist, I don't think any of that. And they say I'm the prideful one?
So let's sum up. Most atheists believe that they can reason about the universe in spite of belief in a universe that would not allow for free will. They believe that they can create a purpose for themselves. They believe that they can know truth while simultaneously not trusting anything they claim to know. They believe that they can discover truth on their own and all by themselves. They believe they don't need reasons to explain why evidence fits their view and not someone else's. They believe they have the magical ability to change their mind solely on the basis of evidence without any reason. And they believe that they can prove their point by ignoring the argument at hand. even when it's their argument. Did I miss anything, Mr. Modified?
When I went with me and I until I was I if I would I don't think that I just my own I was up to my line. I thought that all I know is what I can my art's my best. I mean I'm changing my mind. I don't speaks to me in my ear even me divine. I don't think any of my ideas to me by some all my ideas I don't think I can whisper on my behalf. Say that I can do my own. I admit I believe in because I ask my influence and I don't think of my thoughts. If I want something I have to do it myself. I realize that I don't have me to change with my mind. I don't have faith. I admit of my belief. I don't think that my ideas are that I don't have why I accept to my worldview one of my viewpoints. I would draw it. I would change it. I'm really willing that I'm wrong, change my beliefs. I'll admit that I don't know if I really I won't get defensive about it and I won't try to use my own that my worldview is actually I have no problem with my own ignorance. I realize that the only way I'll ever be able to learn that I don't know something. I don't think that I'm the prideful one.
Yeah, you tell him, Drew.